Time is 7:30. I'd like to call this February 8th regular Board of Education meeting to order. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We're going to start off our evening with some recognition. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gonzalez.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. This is a favorite part of our Board of Education meetings that we try to do every month, but it's been a month or two since we've had a room full of students, so it's great to see you. First, congratulations to many of you who were at the LES concert. I know Mrs. Schumann works really hard with you to put on a great show, and I'm glad to see that your family was able to enjoy that before coming. So I'm going to read a little bit about why you're being recognized, and then when you hear your name, if you could please stand, and then I will bring the certificates after I call all your names out there, and Ms. McCarthy will take a picture of you in the hallway afterwards. All right? So on January 11th, 8 of our fourth graders participated in the Connecticut Association of Schools Student Leadership Conference. Students were nominated based on classroom achievement in leadership and social emotional leadership qualities. The half-day event was held virtually and focused on critical leadership topics such as creative problem solving, communication, decision-making, productive thinking, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'm proud to present our Lebanon Public Schools Responsible Citizen Award to Mia Albee, Patrick Carpenter, Liam Sharon, Kendall Constant, Evelyn Dodge, Samuel Hilario, Michael McGillicuddy, Layla Romero, and Alyssa Lander. Congratulations. All right, there you go, Mia. Patrick, nice talking with you. Liam, congratulations. Kendall, Evelyn, you're welcome. Samuel, congratulations. Michael, congratulations. Layla, congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you can take it.
I know.
Smile. And Miss McCarthy, if you don't mind, could take another nice one of the kids outside. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you for
coming.
I'm gonna put a chair for the public participation.
Okay, thank you. Well done. I can't see anything, so. Bless you. Bless you. You all set? I don't know. All set? Okay, very good. This will bring us right to our public participation section of the agenda. Due to Lebanon Public Schools bylaws, we will allow up to 30 minutes for public participation, with each member allotted 2 minutes. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak this evening? Great. Okay, so we'll start in the front. Jeanette, would you mind coming up, making sure that the microphone is on? State your name, please, for the record.
Jeanette Picard. I am a teacher at Lebanon Middle School. I am also co-president of our Teachers Association. Yesterday, the governor had a press conference and talked about the fact that he is going to recommend that we end our mask mandate in public schools on the 28th of this month. I've been doing a lot of reading. I've been listening to experts and, frankly, following my own heart. I love my job. I love working with my students. I love sitting with them and helping them to learn and grow. However, the thought of coming into school with many children unmasked while we are still in the illness season is incredibly worrisome to me. I, along with some other teachers, have health issues which make it dangerous to be exposed to people who might possibly be positive for the virus, may not be vaccinated. And yet, if we follow the governor's guidelines, that's exactly what will happen. We cannot open our windows in the cold weather, which is one of the mitigation factors. We cannot go outside and have class, which is another mitigation factor, until the weather allows us to do so. So I am requesting for myself and on behalf of my colleagues that we consider extending our mask mandate until the weather and conditions allow us to do so safely. There was an article in the Current, an op-ed from one of our state legislators just a couple of days ago, talking about how the best place for children to learn is in their school, in their classroom, with their teachers. And the best way to be able to continue that is to make sure that we are safe. And a very simple and effective way to do that is to wear masks. I'm double masked because I'm wearing an N95, and I promised my children that every day I'd make sure that my mask matched my outfit, so I'm doing that again today. But I'm very careful to make sure I am safe and that my students are safe. And I am asking that you join me in that charge. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette.
And I'm Kathleen Smith, the fourth grade teacher at the elementary school and also one of the co-presidents of the Teachers Union. And we would like to request, we understand that you're going to get a lot of pushback, a lot of people want masks off. We're just asking that if maybe they could stay until April break, that would be an additional 45 days after the governor's, if that happens with the legislature, of February 28th. So basically going until April 15th, which would be 45 days. And again, that would allow for us to open windows to increase ventilation and feel safer, and also be able to get outside. We haven't even been able to have mass breaks outside recently just because everything's so wet, and there's the icy areas that have been treated with, where we sometimes take the kids to sit, or you have to go through mud or snow to get to the picnic tables. So that's something that we'd like to get doing that again in the spring. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thanks, Kathleen. Could you raise your hand if you'd also like to speak? Thank you. Go ahead. Can you just state your name for the record for us?
Elizabeth Casey.
Thank you.
Do I have to turn this on?
The line.
Yeah, push it up.
It's on. Oh, got it. Do you want to come up? It's my husband.
Sure.
We travel together. I only timed this for 2 minutes and 5 seconds, so.
Great, thank you.
Work with me here.
Appreciate that.
My name is Liz Casey. My husband Jason and I have 3 daughters. They are in 5th, 3rd, and 1st grade. We are asking for an end to the mandate for masks. Over the last 2 years, my girls have had increased anxiety, more frequent trips to the nurse, confusion about what rules to follow as they change from class to class and teacher to teacher for their own comfort levels. Some examples, my 6-year-old was told to put her mask on at recess one time for coughing at recess, which was outside. My 8-year-old last year had 4 quarantines in her class for leading to several weeks of distance learning. My 10-year-old had told me that her mask breaks sometimes are taken away for students misbehaving. I have not stepped into a classroom in 2 years. Last week, I was asked to record reading a book on an iPad to be played in my child's classroom. My 2 daughters prior to that, I have gone in for parties and events and read to the class and seen the children and been in there. This is not normal. There is less socializing, talking, playing, giggling, smiling, but ever-increasing sadness, isolation, anxiety, and confusion. I believe every parent or guardian has the right to choose what is best for themselves and their children. I am an advanced practice nurse. I have a master's degree in family nurse practitioner. My whole 20-plus career has been spent based on science and do no harm. We now approach 2 years of mandates, confusion, hysteria, ever-changing guidance from the experts. We are in fact doing harm. There have been upwards of 47 studies that confirm the ineffectiveness of masks for COVID-19, 32 more which point out negative health effects. 2 minutes is not enough time to review all of this data, but one of the most important points is that the coronavirus is 0.125 microns. It is too small to be captured from most surgical masks. And in fact, most cloth masks only filter about 10 to 30% of aerosolized particles. This, of course, is if they're properly fitted and in place, which we know is not necessarily happening. In the last several months with Omicron, we've seen faculty, staff, and students that have contracted and recovered from COVID-19. CDC reports 770 deaths nationwide in the ages 0 to 17. That's with 10 million reported cases in the same age group, which puts the death rate at our children at 0.008%, and that is only the reported cases. In Connecticut, there have been 7 confirmed deaths in the ages from 0 to 19, and we don't know if these include pre-existing conditions. Every life is precious, and I am not minimalizing the deaths that have occurred, but it is time to admit that COVID is a part of our lives, just as influenza, motor vehicle accidents, gun violence, and so on. Now is the time to unmask our kids and see their smiles again.
Thank you so much. Is there another member of the public who wishes to speak?
Paul Franson, 54 Bascom Road. I have 3 issues I want to bring up this evening regarding the school nurse positions. First, it appears that the salary and job descriptions for unaffiliated school district staff members are currently being discussed by the board, so I assume the nurse positions will be included in those discussions, and that a report of progress should be made available soon by means of meeting minutes and/or other means. Second, the school nurse contract employee, the nurse is for 191 days for the school year. I assume a day is a day, and that each day of work performed
including those days worked at the request of school administration, such as weekends and holidays, would be counted toward the 191 workdays prescribed by the contract. I've requested concurrence from the board on this question in the past. I have not yet received a direct answer, so I'm asking if a legal opinion has been rendered on this contractual question to date. Would the board consider providing the nurses the same type of monetary compensation provided to other school district employees for work performed outside the normal work week, such as compensation prescribed in Article 5 or 6 of the teacher's contract? Would the board consider authorizing compensatory time off consistent with other professional contracts in lieu of monetary compensation? And I've got some contract language in here from a state contract that's similar to the type of work that the nurses do. Third, the school district indicates that it is a well-established principle that registered nurse positions are exempt from Connecticut's wage and hour laws under professional exemption, and that the job descriptions for the positions support this claim. I get one of many emails provided on this matter. I have it enclosed in here, and I can give it to you. It's my understanding that while the work performed by registered nurses can certainly fall within Connecticut's wage and hour exemption, the position is not categorically exempt as the school district claims. Consistent with discussions had with the Connecticut Department of Labor, exemption determinations need to be based on job duties the employee actually performs on the job, and the job descriptions are of limited value because it often represent the employer's idealized perception of what duties a particular employee is supposed to do, when in reality, the job duties the employee actually performs are much different. Those are coming out of DOL's website information, which I have copies included for you. To qualify for the exemption, exempt employees may not devote more than 20% of their time to non-exempt duties. Job duties need to be fully identified and classified as exempt versus non-exempt, and a percentage of time needs to be calculated for each duty performed. The relevant section of the Connecticut General Statutes and example worksheets created by the Connecticut Department of Labor are being provided to you. Has the school district performed current duties tests for school nurse positions consistent with the exemption requirements? How does the school district address non-standard work weeks that exceed the 20% threshold for non-exempt duties? Does a flat hourly rate apply for such time worked, or is compensatory time granted instead? When will the answer to the questions presented be available so that informed decisions and/or actions can be considered by those impacted by such questions? Thank you for your attention on these matters.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak this evening?
Hey, I'm Nick Constant, and this is my daughter Kendall. We live at 244 East Hebron Turnpike. And you know my position on the mask mandate already, so I just wanted to come up and say, that we're going to be in full support of lifting this thing as soon as possible. I would like to see it ended tomorrow, and February 28th can't come soon enough, so we're in full support of you guys when you make that decision to lift that. And I think Kendall had something she wanted to say too.
When we're wearing the masks at school, it's a little hard to do my spelling, and I can't see my friends smile, so that really disappoints me.
So that's it. We just we're elated that this is coming to an end, and we can't wait to see it end. So we're really hoping that when it's left up to you guys, that you will follow through with what you had said a while back, and that when it was stated that it was because of the mandate at the governor level that this is going on. So we hope that you'll stand by that and honor it so that this thing ends when it as early as it can. Thanks.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak this evening? Okay. Seeing none, we will move right along. Thank you so much to those of you that have participated. Our next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have a very large consent agenda this evening.
I make a motion that we accept it as published.
I'll second. Oh.
Thank you. Motion by Maureen, seconded by John. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is the student representatives report. Hello, Rachel.
Hi. Okay, so February snuck up on me a little bit, so I wasn't able to meet with the elementary schoolers or the middle schoolers. But I do have a little bit of update on LMS because I'm in the drama club there. We have started making the sets, and the scenes are coming along nicely, so we are set to perform the play at the middle school at the end of April. And I am already planning the meeting with the elementary schoolers and middle schoolers for next time because I know that I don't want that to happen again where I don't get to meet with them. At the high school, the musical is going well. The sets are done, and I believe most of the choreography is done, and kids are getting really excited about it. Debate Club may have their first real debate next month. It's a small group, but it's cool that we get to have a new club and like actually do things with it. Poetry Out Loud has been meeting weekly, and it's just a group of kids getting together talking about creative writing and a competition in terms of reading poetry, and you get recorded, and it's really cool. So that's been meeting weekly, and I believe that's the first year that we've been doing that. NHS has decorated the school with Valentine hearts, as you could probably see when you walked in. So it's every student's name is on a heart as well as staff members. And that's really fun just in the sense that it's decorating the school a little bit. NHS also has a trivia night planned for the 24th, so that's kind of like our reward, I guess, for midterms, because those are really stressful. And then quick sports update, girls basketball is 5-1 in their division and 9-8 overall. If they win their last home game this Thursday, that means they would win their division, and they have also qualified for states. Boys basketball has 5 games left in their regular season. They have the opportunity to play one playoff game in the conference tournament, and the team is grateful for a learning experience regardless of how the scores turn out in the end. In indoor track at ECCs, girls placed 5th overall, boys placed 3rd overall, and the boys broke 3 school records, so I thought that was pretty cool. I unfortunately do not have an update on wrestling, though I believe it is going well. And that is my report. It is very short this time. Sorry about that.
That's okay, Rachel. We appreciate it. Any questions for Rachel? No? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, moving right along to our reports of committees. Let's see, we'll start, which side of the table should we start with today? How about we start with Dawn, safety and security.
We met. We met in closed session. I'm not really sure how to report.
That's
committee.
That's about right.
Okay.
Danelle, curriculum.
We did not meet.
We're going to meet this month, though, right?
We don't have a set date. No.
Okay. John.
We finished our mid-year evaluation process, so you won't be hearing from me till at least April. Okay.
That's right. Alexis, negotiations.
We did meet twice, on January 20th and on February 3rd, discussing the unaffiliated salaries, personnel, and evaluations.
Great. And Maureen, policy.
Yes, policy met. You have the minutes in the packet, and we have some first readings today, and we'll be acting on those under new business.
Very good. Nicole, facilities.
Facilities has no report. We are meeting on next Tuesday, February 15th.
Great, thank you very much. Matt,
Yes.
finance.
So, I'm trying to get to the summary.
It's okay.
So we've actually had several meetings. The first meeting we had was, what I was able to attend was actually not really a meeting, was we went to the information from the different schools and from the public, which went well. We did not really get much information from the public. We did get good information from the different schools and the different levels there. Then we had a meeting, let's see, I apologize.
Go ahead, take your time.
We also had a meeting via Zoom that we talked about going ahead with the budget. We got some feedback from the different members of the committee. Several of the members felt that the committee amount was a little bit low, and we needed to look at some other things that should be added into the budget. And other members felt that the budget was on track and where it needed to be. We talked about budgets compared to other budgets in the area, and that we were kind of in the middle. And we also, I'm very sorry, I had this and I lost it.
That's okay.
We also had a discussion about the idea that we need to get the budget presented to the Board of Finance by the 1st, or now I guess it could also be the 3rd. You just said originally, I thought it was going to be on the 1st, but really that's new information to me. And then this evening, we had a discussion, went through line by line for questions about the budget process, and we're going to continue that with another meeting in the future. Thank you.
We'll also continue the conversation in the report of the superintendent, right? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very busy subcommittee. We'll also be
Yes.
meeting again very soon.
Yes, we will.
Okay, any questions for Matt? Okay, Bruce, enrollment.
We have a meeting January 20th. Minutes are in the packet here, and we have to confirm our next meeting.
Doing some outreach to other school districts, and we'll be able to meet again to talk about the communication that we've had so far, so.
Yes, we're looking forward to
Yes, me too.
continuing those conversations with the schools.
Any questions for Bruce? Okay, as far as governance is concerned, we're going to be looking for a special meeting to, number one, approve the final budget. That will have to happen in February, as we're going to take our final board-approved budget then to the Board of Finance. So that has to happen that last week of February. Please check your calendars if you don't mind. We're thinking February 24th, which is a Thursday. If you don't mind checking your calendars to make sure that you're available that day and get back to us so we can get that meeting on the books.
And again, I don't know if that could be done via Zoom, if that makes it easier for other people, correct, or not?
It could, but I think I'd prefer to be in person if possible.
I'm just saying, I just thrown that.
Yep. We also will need another item on the agenda for that meeting, and that item will be a discussion topic based on the new mask guidance. So we will need to have a discussion about that. We're also very hopeful that there will be more specific guidance for school districts released by then, because the governor, when he announced yesterday, it seemed like there was going to be more guidance based on the amount of cases within your district, taking a look at specific districts individually. So we don't have that yet. So we're hoping in the next couple of weeks, more information will come out and we'll be able to have a rich, thoughtful discussion. As we know, it is a very, it's a topic that people are very passionate about, and we all understand it one way or the other. It's something that we really need to take seriously and consider all angles. So I'm looking forward to that discussion on that evening as well. Okay?
Are we married to that date? Does it have to be the 24th?
We're not married to it, no.
Okay.
Nope.
So I'd like to request a date change. if
Okay,
possible.
why don't we, within the next day or two, let's go ahead and put some dates out there, find a date that will work best for everybody. I know that we have Tuesday, Thursday, Matt's kind of an integral piece of this.
Other days, just needs to be later is all.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm in favor of any Tuesday.
all right.
Works great for me.
All right, so why don't we why don't we play around with some dates via email, and then we'll get that out sooner rather than later.
So
we
you're
can all.
looking at the last week?
The last week of
20th full
February.
week, the last full week.
I think we'll need that because next week we need another subcommittee meeting for finance to finish going through the budget book. And then after that, we'll have the full board come back together.
So the week of the 21st is like vacation day, so I don't know if you want...
21st and 22nd.
That's why we're thinking the 24th, but, okay. We'll just have to, go ahead.
That might be also a good reason to try to have the presentation to the Board of Finance on the Thursday of that first week in March rather than Tuesday. Just because this month is short and we have some work to do and want to make sure that we have put the appropriate amount of thought and detail into the presentation and adoption of the budget.
Okay. Questions on that?
And I'm okay with the 15th as well. I know that I have a facilities meeting, but I can do two.
Okay.
That's fine.
We may be doing something on that.
Finance, yeah.
Oh, finance too?
Yeah.
Right.
If that works out with Dawn, that's what I was thinking, because I think I could have enough time to speak to get my questions answered.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Moving right along to our administrators' reports. Are there any administrators? Okay, Jay, come on up. That's right. Make sure your mic is on, thank you.
I just wanted to point out, this would be on the second page of the Lyman report. I don't know if you can see that, but that very top 100, that was a design by one of our students for the Lyman 100th graduation, like their logo. So that was done by our graphic design class, and that was done by Kelly Ann Pearson. So we just wanted to recognize her for like great work, and I really tried, I want you to know, I tried to get the slide that had all of the designs in it, but it would not copy and paste it into my report, so I'll try and make sure I can hand it to you so you can see there's a slide of every single design that the kids did. It's really cool. I also wanted to point out something that Rachel stayed after school to do. All the little hearts that are around the school, that's every student in the school has their name on one of those little hearts, and faculty and staff too. So they spent a lot of time doing that today. So, and again, it's really cool because the students all go around, they try and find their name, and and the basketball team found their name and put it all around our TV. If you look out there, you can see that. It's fun. It's a great thing that you guys did, and I really appreciate that. And then there's also a picture on there from one of our basketball games. That was one of the first times we had the students back in there. Once it was not just family members, and that was kind of a moment. One of the parents came out and took that, and I asked for the picture, so I put it in here so that you guys could all see that.
Yay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Are there any other administrators who would like to speak? Oh, hello, Ms. Scorzo.
Everyone, good evening. Many of you attended fourth grade concert this evening. Thank you to our community for helping us put that on so we could have an in-person concert this evening, which is awesome for the kids. We just completed a lot of our mid-year assessments, so we can continue to use that data for very targeted interventions and have those discussions and continue that process. We are doing the book fair this week. We have PTA bingo night coming on Friday, so a lot of events to look forward to. In addition, we are having an in-person invention convention, which we're pretty excited about, on Tuesday, the 15th. So a lot going on at LES. Thanks.
Thank you, Jess. All set? Any other administrators?
I don't know. Rita, let me check.
Rita, did you have your hand up? No? Okay. Okay, moving right along, we'll move along to the report of the superintendent. Enrollment?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. So if you look all the way down at the bottom, every month, with the exception of one, our budget, our enrollment, sorry, jumping ahead. I guess budget's on my mind a little bit. Every month except one for enrollment, we've stayed steady or gone up. I know that Bruce referenced the creative conversations and brainstorming that we've been having at the enrollment subcommittee meetings. I did want to highlight, because I do think it plays in nicely with enrollment, our Lyman team is going to be going to Lisbon Central School on the 28th of this month to make a presentation. They are interested in having Lyman be a designated choice high school, as well as a sending VOAG school. So I think that is, we talked about trying to extend our outreach and at least establish relationships. Mr. Apicelli and Ms. McCarthy have done an amazing job with the partnerships that we currently have, and it's exciting to think about growing those partnerships, in addition to things that you'll see as enhancements that we want to do to keep our kids from the middle school coming here. So I think we're moving in the right direction, and that's exciting. Any questions about enrollment?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Do you know where does Lisbon currently go for ag? Do you know?
I would guess Ledyard. I know that NFA is a sending school for them, Norwich Tech, but for ag specifically, I would think it's Ledyard. Okay. And we've had some consultation with the State Department of Education, because one of their questions is, can they have multiple VOAG choices? And the answer is yes, but we're hopeful that after our presentation, there will be one clear-cut choice.
I'm just curious, is it possible to know how we compare cost-wise to other places?
For our regular ed tuition, or?
Let's take Lisbon, for example.
Yep.
If Lisbon sends their VOAG to Ledyard, how do we compare the Ledyard for cost to the student, to the town that we're getting it from?
Yeah, I can try to find that if you'd like that information.
Well, I need the numbers right now, so.
You don't have enough numbers to look through, right? Okay, anything else for enrollment?
I would just like to say that I am very excited that we went up, where our enrollment continues to go up every month, and I think that's awesome. From September, we've gone up almost 30 kids, so I think we're heading in a great direction, and I'm very excited. So, that's all
I'm excited too, not to take anything away from that excitement. Just a reminder, several of those kids you'll see are from the pre-K program as we continually screen, but that's exciting in its own right, bringing those kids in at such a young age and continuing to do child find throughout the year, I think is a best practice, obviously. But you're right, we've had families moving in from out of town. We've had some students who it just didn't work out in other districts and have chosen here. I think that says a lot about our school district, about our teachers, about our students, and the community that we have.
That's right. Thank you. Any other questions on enrollment? Okay, move right along to the budget enhancements.
Yeah, so this one is more of a conversation, I hope, because I think one of the things that stands out within the budget, and it has a large percentage increase possibility, is the new initiatives and enhancements that we'd like to bring into our district. We spent time during the subcommittee meeting. We got through about 16 or 17 pages of the budget book, and we're going to have another finance subcommittee meeting to continue that deep dive so that we're really going through this budget with a fine-tooth comb and making the most thoughtful recommendations we can. And I do feel we are in a very respectful place without these enhancements coming in around the two, being privy to information from other districts in superintendent regional meetings. We're on the mid to lower end for sure, but as a superintendent, I want to advocate for all of our schools, all of our teachers and our students, and I think we want to continue to pursue excellence, then we have to look to grow. So for me to just put forward a 2% just because that's just flopping over the books, to me that's not enough. However, I think if we look at this new initiatives and enhancement sheet, there's a lot here. and I think that it requires some thoughtful direction from the board in conversation with me as to which items from the sheet do we want to include and move forward in a more final presentation as you prepare to adopt the superintendent's recommendations. So if you look here, we have the position or the initiative in the first left-hand column, and then if you go all the way to the right is probably where I'd ask you to focus your attention, is the potential increase in dollars and the potential impact percentage-wise to the budget. So you see that the potential dollar amount increase is $593,000, almost $594,000, and that is a 2.97% increase, so almost 3 percentage points, on top of the two. So all of these things together, we're looking at a 5% budget increase. Which, I've shown you in preliminary budget presentations, when you're looking at 5-year historical averages and we're hovering around a 1.22, a 5 might be high for people to accept. I'd be glad to get up there and make that presentation and tell them all the reasons why every single thing within that 5% are things that would benefit our schools, our students, and our teachers. However, I do want to be respectful of our community and the money that goes into our schools. So I don't know if there's anything in particular here that, or if Sarah, at this point, you want to kind of take this list and...
I do, Andy, but can you just tell me where this specific list, which page?
Two.
Right behind the summary.
Page 2.
Page 2. If you look on the bottom of that.
Thank you.
That is the wages and salaries impact, and then on page 3, if you wanted to look at the benefit impact for those very same positions. So basically, page 2 totals and page 3 totals would go together.
So I do think we should start at the top and work our way down as far as, having a conversation with the board. If the board has questions about these new initiatives or concerns, comments, that type of thing, starting at the top and working our way down. Go ahead, Matt.
So when I'm looking at this, I want to make sure that, again, I'm reading this correctly. So the second page is the benefits, which is kind of like a recap of what's already on the first page, correct?
First page is salary and wages. Second pages are the associated benefits that go with that position.
All right, so then it's technically an additive number.
It's together.
Right.
Yep.
So that
it'd be page 2, and page 3 gives you the total.
Of the thing, so then it's...
Correct.
So then the total figure would be something around $700,000 plus dollars. Am I reading?
Hop in, Matt, sorry, I'm behind the pole again.
No, that's fine.
Please come over, Val.
So if we use the wages page, we'll have a good kind of snapshot of not only the wages, but as we go down the columns, associated taxes, medical benefits.
That's what I thought, okay.
Pension if it's available, life insurance if it's available. And then the total, I have to reflect the benefits on the benefits tab to get the increases and the percentages. But I think if we stay on the wages page, we might see all the numbers in one spot, if that helps.
Right, the first page. That's what I was saying. So
You're
that
right, it is a bit of a duplicate, but I have to...
Okay, that's totally fine. I just want to make sure I was reading correctly.
The only reason I highlight the benefits, because there are certain positions that are currently within our operating budget that don't require benefits because of their status. And if we increase that status, benefits come along with that, and that is on page 3.
No, I understand that. I just want to make sure that we weren't supposed to add them together. This one is technically within the first page, but you separated it out to show the difference. Thank you.
Great. All right, so the first item is the nursing instructor at Lyman. This is the program that we have just recently adopted through curriculum. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions or ideas on this in general? What we really need to do is give the superintendent a good idea of whether or not the board supports this new initiative. So please feel free to express how you feel about these things so that Andy has a clear understanding of, which items he should eliminate and which items he should add. Go ahead, Maureen.
I'm sorry, those are the pages I printed, and they're sitting at my desk at home. And I don't happen to have my Chromebook. Oh, I don't own one. Anyway, when we're talking about the nursing instructor, I like the fact that we're going to come up with a career path for kids to get when they get out of school. So that's one position I would really vote yes for.
I agree.
Great. Should we go around the table? Go ahead, John, I saw your hand.
I concur with Maureen. It's very rare, but I do agree with her.
Okay, Danelle?
Yeah, I support this position. Our committee talked about it quite a bit, and Rita and I talked too, and I think it's one of those careers that you don't need to go to a tech school to get it if we offer it here at Lyman.
Yep. Dawn, I see you nodding.
Nothing to add.
Support?
I support it, yep.
Alexis?
Same, I definitely support that.
Matt?
It's nursing, what can I say?
And Bruce?
Yes, I support it.
Okay, sounds like we have a general consensus. Very good. Our next item is the Lyman Turf Management Instructor. This one, just for Maureen and for the general public, whomever may be listening, has total potential increase of $77,000, whereas the last one was $16,500. So this one is 77. Go ahead, Maureen.
Well, like I said, I approve of things that'll give a kid an occupation when they get out of school, so I would tend to support that one as well.
And I agree with that, and I think there are so many kids that graduate from Lyman that start their own landscaping business, so this is perfect for anyone else who's thinking of it.
Great. Matt?
I heard that's what I do with my sons, about landscaping.
It was more than just turf management, I believe, Andy. Could you go back into that for a moment?
Sure. So, addition to the career pathway we hope that this offers, it could have a great impact on our very own grounds, and I think increase pride in our schools if they're using the tools and the resources and under the guidance of this new instructor to take care of our own grounds. But we also have talked about, depending on the number of sections that this person would be teaching at the high school, trying to extend this instructor into the middle school or even the elementary school to try to increase our ag tie-in offerings and things of that nature. I know there's been conversation over the years about how can we, weave in programming throughout the buildings and try to have this through line and continuity. And I think with this instructor, we could do that.
Great, thank you. Bruce?
Yes, I can see how turf management and the things involved there would help the ones who aren't going on to college.
Dawn?
I support it.
Danelle?
Of course, I support it, being on this committee as well. I am concerned about the cost. If we had to make a cut of something, I think this is a large chunk of an increase, $77,000. But I do support the program. I support the idea for it and everything that people have said.
Great. John?
Yeah, as we look to reach out to other communities like Lisbon or whoever, having something like that is attractive, so I definitely would support it.
Good point. Alexis?
I also support this, but just refresh our memory, the equipment was going to be part of grant money?
Yeah, we have ag grant, and we're going to be using it to buy the equipment.
Right, so we would have additional equipment that would come on, but would be no cost to the operating budget?
For the equipment, right.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Great, thank you for that.
Yes.
I agree. I actually 100% agree with Danelle. I think that it'd be a fantastic enhancement. I think it's something that not a lot of schools necessarily offer. If there is a need for a bit of a cut, I'd support that as well. A bit of it, but I do support the initiative for sure. So, Matt?
So, just to throw it out there, is there a way to look at this as maybe coming in as starting out as maybe even a part-time thing where it might be less costly to the school if that needed to be done rather than completing, if we got into a budget fix of having it deleted completely? I'm just throwing ideas out.
Anything's a possibility.
Okay.
John?
The only thing I'd say about the part-time piece is it might be hard to recruit somebody to take that position.
No, I fully understand it, but I hate to say flat no.
And I would also, in addition to the challenges that it might present in terms of recruitment and retention, because if you get someone in and then they get offered a full-time job, it would also take away the opportunity to get into the middle school or elementary. They would just be teaching their sections.
I understand.
Great, thank you. Is that clear enough?
Good.
Okay, great. All right, the next initiative is to talk about the LES gym teacher from one full-time employee to one full-time employee from a 0.6 employee. So it would be an additional 2 days. That's an increase of potentially $51,500 with the salaries and benefits included. Rachel, this probably is very boring, so if you wanted to excuse yourself, nobody would mind. Okay.
I'm surprised you stayed.
Okay.
Don't get in finance.
So this is, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, and Mrs. Scorso, I might need your support here. It's not 2 additional days because of the way this person is scheduled, it's just more time. So it's not like this person's only working Monday through Wednesday, but this would afford them more time within the schedule every day.
I just have a question. I'm sure we're following all the mandates and requirements for physical education, but I'm actually shocked that we've had a part-time teacher for so long for an entire school of kids that need PE and need to run around. So I just don't know how they manage to cover it for everybody with a part-time teacher. So I fully support making it full-time again.
So again, Mrs. Scorso, please help me if you could. So it's not just a part-time PE teacher. We have a shared staff that goes between the middle and the elementary in addition to the part-time at the elementary.
Okay, thank you.
Should we go around the table again? Dawn?
I support it.
Danelle?
Yeah, I support it. Same reason, it's hard to retain somebody at 0.6. There's better jobs out there.
Alexis?
I support this one.
I'm going to cut in here and just recognizing page 17 of the budget book, the difference in LES, LMS, and LMHS in the salaries and wages. LMHS has a cost of $177,000 for physical ed, which is that's quite considerable.
Yeah, multiple staff members.
Right, multiple staff members. I'm just wondering if there is a need to decrease our enhancements. Is there a way to creatively schedule our current physical education staff so that LES has a consistent physical education teacher for that building so that the position is not shared? That's just my personal feedback. I don't necessarily think that this is an essential cost increase. Maureen?
I kind of agree. I'm a great proponent of exercise, but the LES, they have opportunities for recess where they don't in high school. And so, if we had to cut something, I would leave this one as it is.
I'm a big advocate of physical education. I actually think that kids in elementary school should get physical education every day. So I am a huge proponent for increasing it to full-time and leaving the high school alone, because the high school has a lot of gym teachers or physical education teachers that coach on the side, so they're busy as it is. So they need to stay at the high school.
I agree with you, Sarah.
Okay. Bruce?
I think we have an opportunity to teach these kids some life skills. You see a lot of older people that don't think anything about physical education, but it's something that we should be teaching right in our schools. I support it.
Great, thank you. Sorry, that wasn't as clear. Okay, we'll move right along. Thank you very much.
Might be able to do these next three kind of
Together.
in one. Yeah.
That's right. All right, would you speak to their special ed occupational therapy, move from a .6 to a 1, special ed part-time, move from a .5 to a .6, and special ed speech pathology, I'm assuming that's moving a speech pathologist in-house as opposed to contracting out with EastCon.
Correct, you did a great job right there. There's obviously an increased need for these services. We're doing the very best we can to meet these needs, but as IEPs change and required service hours change, and as students move in with more needs, we need to be reflecting our staffing to meet those needs. And that comes straight from the Department of Pupil Services recommendations. As you remember, in building the budget, the Department of Pupil Services and the Special Ed Department had a substantial offset. And, this is an opportunity because of that, I think, to build this program, to be able to provide the services that are needed for students, and not feel so constrained in doing so.
Great. Matt?
So, this is one of those ads that's not really as much of an ad as it seems to be, having looked at the budget. Because we're spending a lot of money at EastCon to provide these services because they have to be provided anyway. So, is there a way to look at this where it shows the true cost of what this might be to the district rather than this looks like an ad which really is not nearly this much?
Yeah, I think we can pull that information out according, using the booklet, though, when you're reporting out, those figures are going to show the increases because of what was previously budgeted. But I think we can do our best. Val and I can work to make sure that we pull that information out to show what the true difference is, especially in that contracted position.
It's deceivingly high.
Matt, if you want to reference the special ed department budget and the last three digits, 323 line, it's called pupil services.
Say that again?
The last three digits is 323.
323.
The line item, yeah, it's
Yep.
called pupil services, and that's the offset because that's a contractual account, and this is a salaries account, so I can't really offset them in the budget book, but that is the line item that the actual speech pathologist will offset.
Okay.
Not necessarily the OT and PT, but that speech pathologist position will be offset by the $85,000 EastCon contract dropping off.
Right.
And that's the line item that lives in.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's go around. I know this one is, a little bit, maybe... Yeah, it's kind of like a package, but let's go around and see, do you have any questions, comments, do you support, not support? I feel like I start with you all the time, Dawn. Bruce, do you have any thoughts on these?
No, I don't, but I support it.
Okay. And Matt?
I have a feeling that, like I said just a minute ago, that I can support it because I really don't think it's going to be that big of an increase. And it's going to provide a lot of benefit to the school.
Nicole?
I don't even think this should be like a discussion item because as a teacher, looking at their handwriting skills and their fine motor skills, this is a no-brainer. We need this. So.
Go ahead.
And not to sway the board, just to try to be transparent about these things. If students' IEPs are written as such that they need the service, we legally need to provide the service. So, I think these are ones that if the data shows us that we need the position, then we need the position. And I think with the contracted out through EastCon versus doing here, to Matt's point, it, is something that's a benefit without it being so much of a cost.
Great. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, okay. Okay, Martin.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Alexis?
Just stay on, yeah.
Yeah, I concur with Nicole.
Great. Sunil?
Just a point of clarification, are you saying the EastCon speech pathologist costs more than what we could get? Is that what the bottom line is here? We're reducing because we're going to use our own?
Yes.
Okay. I support it.
Great. And Dawn?
I support it.
Okay, same here. Thank you very much. All right, the next item on the agenda is not on the agenda, I'm sorry, on the The new initiatives is the LMS social worker. You want to speak to that, Andy?
Yeah, I just wanted to, this is shifting out of some of the ARP ESSER funding. So this is one of those positions that we would need to kind of replace if we're looking to keep that level of support. Obviously, the circumstances that our students, families, teachers, everybody has gone through the past several years have been very challenging, and, having somebody else in the building to support the social, emotional needs of our learners and colleagues at times is important. So, just putting that out there for consideration as you provide your feedback.
Want to start us off, John?
Oh, sure, thanks. Correct me if I'm wrong, this request has been around for a few years, and I think more than ever with the pandemic, the social and emotional learning that has to take place, I would definitely be in for this one.
Danelle?
I'm going to have to disagree with John. I think if we need to cut something, I think this is something we have lived without for a long time. I understand that the need has increased in the last 2 years, but as we get back to normalcy, I'm hoping that people will get back to normalcy. We do have other social workers that could be shared between schools, I think. Is that right? We have one at the other schools?
2.
How many social workers do we have? We have one,
What is our current number?
I believe we only have one in the ESSER grant.
Yep.
And this would be to add an middle.
But total in the district, 2?
2 now, right? And that when one is paid for right now out of ESSER, correct?
And one is shared.
And one is shared.
Between middle and, elementary and middle.
Okay.
So this would be number 3.
Nope, this would be the second one because the money would not be coming from ESSER anymore.
Okay.
It would have to come from operating. So this would only be 2 within the 3 schools, correct?
So if we don't support this, we go back down to 1?
That's my understanding, correct?
Oh, boy.
Is that correct, Andy? Yes? So if we don't support it, we'd only have 1 throughout the whole district. Dawn?
I think we desperately need at least 2 in our district.
Where do you want to go? Bruce?
I really have no idea what the need is.
Okay. Thank you, Val. Hold on one second. Let me get Val.
I do believe I have the ESSER social worker coming out of ESSER into operating already in the wages that you see calculated.
So this would make 3?
I see this.
Did you want me to clarify that?
Yeah, could you for me, please? Because all I see is names on a spreadsheet.
The social worker that was hired this year would go away after this fiscal year.
Right.
I have the split person budgeted in here.
If you recall, am I echoing?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try. If you recall, the social worker was originally always supposed to be in the budget last year, but didn't make it. So Cheryl asked if we could try to squeeze it into the ESSER fund, which we did. But the intent of that one position of the social worker was always to have it back into the regular budget.
What did she say? What was the last
The intent was to have it be part of the operating, but because it didn't make the cut last year, we found a way to get it into ESSER, and that's why it's back out here.
Okay. Right, and that was the second social worker that we have, correct, Rita?
Right, so we had a social worker that did all 3 schools. She was with high school. This position that we put in this past year is both for the elementary and the middle school.
And Val, it is not built into the budget?
Unfortunately, I have names. I don't know if we want to start listing names.
Let's have this be a part of our next finance subcommittee meeting, we'll get it clarified, have it be there, and then we can report out at our special meeting.
Thank you very much, because that information, I think, is going to help us make a much more informed decision.
Thank you, Andy.
I just add one thing to it. I hate to throw out the unknown variables, but I think it's important for you to know that the middle school right now has a lot of students that need help from our support staff, so your psychologists, your counselors, and social workers. And we don't have a psychologist. There's currently 30 openings in the state. Last time I checked on REAP, we have 0 applicants. So although you hate to make decisions based on an unknown, I can easily foresee that we might not get a psychologist. And so the social worker currently is picking up a lot of the slack, helping us with students that are in need. So it's another variable to think about.
It's important. I don't know how you're getting along without a school psychologist and a social worker.
So it's difficult.
I can't even imagine. Okay. Okay, our next item on the new initiatives is a central office, business office, part-time account specialist, .4, so it's a part-time position. Would you talk about this a little bit, Andy?
Yeah, I think this probably connects to some of the very preliminary conversations we've had about shared services across between the town and the schools. Val coming into this position and seeing how things are working and where some of our maybe inefficiencies are or where the support is needed. This was something that was supported there to help us increase our work production and our work efficiency in the business department. I don't know, Val, if there's anything you want to add.
It was a suggestion I put in place. Having only 2 people in the office, there's a struggle for us to sometimes follow appropriate accounting practices with segregation of duties and who signs the check, who's going to cut the check, who's going to approve it, who's going to, So I had this issue when I started at the town, and I was able to bring on a similar position. It was already at the town, and I was able to fill it with somebody, and it really did help become a really integral part of how we started to operate to improve efficiencies. There's a lot of stuff that lives in our office as well that's benefits related and kind of HR related, and I think we definitely need some more support and just an extra body to start spreading out some of the work that we do and the workload. Also would support coverage if our payroll clerk was gone on a Friday when payroll is due. Right now, we have to kind of schedule vacations around all that and the timing of accounts payable and payroll, and so that would hopefully ease some of that burden. And again, kind of like Andy said, I've always just keep talking about this shared services, and I think that eventually we're just going to have to take steps to get there instead of starting from scratch with 7 high-end salaries or whatever it might look like, right? So it was just my idea of trying to better our office a little bit and get towards some shared services, the idea that we've talked about there. Yeah.
So this .4 position, how would that look on a weekly basis? Like, what would that person's...
So right now it's pegged so .4, I think it's 12 hours a week.
So how would that look? Would it be 8 hours one day and 4 another, or?
It would probably be 2 full days, maybe 2 6-hour days. I think we do a lot better work when we're able to focus on the whole day versus 2 3 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours.
That's what I was curious.
Yeah, and so
I was curious what that
know when you're going to have that person. We have certain accounts that Maureen doesn't have check signing capabilities on, so knowing when that person will be there to sign checks and kind of incorporate our whole AP and payroll structure around that timing.
All right, thanks, Val. Let's go around the table and ask questions, make comments. Nicole, do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great idea, and yeah, I'm all in favor of, kind of fusing together the town and the Board of Ed, but I'm going to be honest, if it were, up to which one I would cut first, that would be the first one, because I'm more in favor of instructional support for students and teachers.
Great. Matt?
I'm not against it, but I'm not positive that I'm for it. So I have to do some more research into how this looks.
Yep, fair enough. Bruce?
I would go with Val's recommendation. If she feels she needs it, then I think we should support her.
Thanks, Bruce. Dawn?
I'm neutral, and I agree with Nicole.
Great. And Danelle?
I'm sort of neutral, but I appreciate what Val said about working steps toward the shared services. So if this is a step in the right direction, then I would support it. Otherwise, I'm pretty neutral about it.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I defer to Val on that. It's not a big ticket item either. You know, so if that's going to get us somewhere and we can fill it, then I think I'd be for it.
Alexis?
Yeah, I'm in favor with Bruce and with John that I'm going to defer to Val. She knows how to run the department if she needs the extra help, if it's going to run efficiently and you know, maybe avoid some mistakes and some things going on that could cost us down the road. It's, to John's point, it's not a big ticket item, so I would defer to the superintendent and to Val on this one.
I would add that I agree with Nicole, and I agree with Val, and I trust the expertise. My concern is that we're not even in planning mode yet with shared services, and before I would like to make an investment, I want to see a plan, I want to see an action plan. You know, we have had conversations with the town, but there's definitely nothing set in stone. Those have been on hold, and I definitely want to support Val and that department, but I want to see a plan first. That's where I stand.
Right, and I think this would just, one of the great things about it would be a step towards. I mean, I could hit this person ground running tomorrow with full workload. It's not a question that there isn't things to do in that office, from document retention to actual signing of checks. But it is always on my mind to working towards those shifts, you know.
And we can have those conversations again, you know, I think that'd be great, but I just think that we're not there yet.
Right, I'm going to do that too.
Okay. Maureen?
I agree with Sarah.
What she said.
I didn't want her to overlook me, you know. She started over there.
Yeah, but you don't want to be replaced either, do you?
Never. Sure. Okay, now we have some new initiatives that were brought up from input sessions. The first item was extending part-time secretaries, 3 of them, one in each building, to full-time. That includes with benefits at a cost of $143,980. Do you want to give us any background on that, or is that pretty clear for the board? Pretty clear? Okay. All right, anybody want to start? Nicole?
Yes, I know this is a big ticket item, but I am in full support of 2 full-time secretaries at each of the schools. I'm looking right here at the communications. We already have 1 half-time secretary leaving our district. And I can't help but wonder if it's because it's not a full-time position. They're finding a full-time position somewhere else. These buildings are so chock full of not issues in a bad way, but there's so much going on in all 3 of these buildings. Like, these secretaries need help. So just extending the half-time position to another half and giving 2 full bodies in these schools, I think is very beneficial to having these buildings run properly. Like, whether it be calling, parents, talking to other schools and other secretaries and other practices, whatever, technology, the new security methods to, bring people in the building. I just think it's so important.
Matt?
A lot of money. A lot of money.
Bruce?
Bruce?
I thought it was a good idea, but yeah, it is a lot of money, but if that's what the need is, I mean, we should support it, I think.
Dawn?
I more than 100% support this. I know it's a lot of money, while I haven't seen like the day-to-day stuff, I have been in the office at LES and just see if that were me, I don't think I could do that. you know, like, it's a lot of work, and they're doing it wonderfully, but, man, I fully support this.
So everybody knows we have one full-time secretary and one part-time secretary in each office right now. And this would take that half-time, that second half-time to a full. Danelle?
So I think this is a tricky one, because I believe years ago, there were 2 full-times at every school, cut back to 1 part-time, 1 full-time, and then it was 1 full-time, and then we added them back in because of COVID and attendance policies. I know the secretaries are incredibly busy there. I think they could use any help that they can get, but I'm hesitant to offer 3 more full-time secretaries, 1.5 parts, or whatever you want to call it that way. So this is tricky for me.
John?
I think in a perfect world, I'd like to see this. However, it is a big ticket item, and I'd hate to see, if there's something that has to go, I'd rather see it be this, unfortunately, than something that has to do with instruction.
Yep. Alexis?
Yeah, I'm conflicted on this one as well. Yeah, I mean, I would rather see, if we had to like make a choice, like for one of our new initiatives to grab a new one of our programs like nursing or turf management, I would really love to see those stay. While I still understand that, you know, our secretaries do work very hard and could use the help. But if it's gonna, I really want to see it directly benefit the children, so I'm really going to defer to building administrators and the superintendent on this one. If they really feel what needs to be done, then I would support their decisions.
Maureen?
I agree with most everybody. I know that I would much rather see the money go to the children, and so if this had to be cut, but it's really probably be administrator's decision more than ours.
Yeah, I agree as well. You know, we're thinking about enrollment, and I don't want to take anything away from our building secretaries. They work hard, and these buildings function because of them. But nobody's going to come to Lyman because we have 2 full-time secretaries in each office. They're going to come to Lyman because we have nursing, because we have turf management, because we have, you know, all these other opportunities. So that's my stance on it, and I guess I sort of agree with Alexis about, you know, trusting superintendent's decision on that one. If it wasn't so expensive, I might say something different, but. Val?
I just thought, thinking about the math here, right, and how we're looking at this dollar amount. So if you divide it by 3, you could put one, you know, these are 3 positions here. So you could choose like an a la carte, you know, and decide to put one place and, you know, maybe only support 1 position or 2 or, you know, or all of them. But just so awareness of the numbers, you could take that whole column and divide it by 3, and that would be kind of at each school.
Thanks. Any other comments on these positions? All set? Okay. Now we have the new input session. What are we talking about? Where are we here? Nurses, 5% increase with contractual benefits is $4,710.
I mean, that doesn't seem like a lot, and if that's going to help our nurses out, I totally agree with that.
Matt?
I just want to understand. There's a couple of questions. I really don't, it's more data I need on that one to give you a good answer. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, it sounds like the nurses have been overworked, and this is not a very large increase at all, so I think that would help.
Support?
I support it.
Dawn?
Support it, yeah.
Danelle?
So this is 4,700 divided by 3.
Right.
So this is a 5% increase, which just speaks about how little they get paid to begin with. So I absolutely support this, and I support probably more.
John?
I support this.
Alexis?
Support it.
I support it.
Great. Okay. All right, next is the Lebanon Elementary School special ed teacher. This is an additional special ed teacher for the elementary school.
What does BA2 mean?
That's a estimate for bachelor's step 2.
Okay.
Sorry. Do we have any background on this, Annie? This was input that was gathered from the teachers, correct? Not something that you added to the budget, but you just wanted to give the board.
Correct. It was brought up at the staff input session, in particular how beneficial it can be at the elementary level to have case managers who work within a single grade level. Currently, some of our special educators have to work and case manage students across grade levels. So that's primarily where I believe that this staff input request came from.
Okay. Alexis?
So again, don't want to keep deferring, but wouldn't have enough information, and I'm going to trust the administrators and the superintendent on this one. If our children need it, then it should be part of the budget.
That's right. John?
I agree absolutely with Alexis.
Danelle? Dawn? Bruce?
I have to agree with Alexis.
Matt?
Again, it's, if it's something that's required for special ed, then we have to do it. But, again, everything adds up.
Right.
I agree with Alexis.
Same. And I do as well. Great. Thank you all. I know that was...
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
I would just like to say how much I appreciated that report. I read everything. I read all the little comments and everything else. It was really easy to follow. Thank you, Val.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, thank you. I found it very easy, too.
I actually read it for a change. I used to skim them, and this one I actually looked at numbers and everything.
The little summaries were helpful,
Yes.
that's for sure. Okay.
Back to me.
Back to you. Report of the superintendent, COVID-19 update.
Yeah, I'd also like to echo Maureen's compliments, thanking Val for the effort and detail, but I'd also like to thank the building administrators, the team leaders, department heads, teachers, staff that came out to the input session. Any emails or phone calls I've had with the community, it really takes an entire town to build this budget appropriately, and I think we're moving in the right direction. It's also exciting to see the budget book and the presentation coming together, and I think that the longer Val and I work together along with you, it will only get better. So, kind of compliments all around. Looking at the COVID-19 dashboard that I put up within our website every Friday, and I try to include in the updates to you as well as in the superintendent update, we are at the best place we've been in a long time. The report I have in front of me, the dashboard from February 7th, I updated it on Monday just to be able to bring it here. We had 6 students across the district who are currently isolating with confirmed cases. We had 0 staff members. The number of students in quarantine due to close contact in school, 0. We did have some cases of close contact outside of school, with family situations and anticipated positive results. That number's hovering right around 5 as well. Our numbers throughout the year, obviously, when you look at them, do feel staggering with cumulative cases of 100 at Lyman, 88 at the middle school, 87 at the elementary school for students, and our staff numbers have, grown over the course of the year. But all in all, we are at the best place according to the data that we've been as far back as Thanksgiving. That can be attributed to many things. I want to thank the community for their support and following through with the mitigation measures, and obviously the teachers for, implementing those within their classroom, So that's where we stand currently. I think if we segue over to the governor's press conference. I did get a message actually today at 4:45 p.m., so I thought it was timely from the State Department of Education, from the commissioner. And I think some of the wording that you hear from the State Department is different than the wording that is reported through Fox 61 or, Eyewitness News or in the Hartford Courant, et cetera. So, I just want to be careful with what is being reported from these different platforms. So, our commissioner reminds us that this is an intention to request that the General Assembly extend the mandate through the 28th. So that's an intention that needs to go through the General Assembly. So that's something just to keep in mind. The House is scheduled to address the issue on Thursday, February 10th. I'm actually meeting with our regional superintendents on the 10th, hopefully after that gathering, because somehow people end up finding out that information. So hopefully I'll have the most current stuff on the 10th. But then the Senate is convening on Monday, the 14th, for the same purpose. So there's numerous channels in which this intention to request has to go. Now, I know the governor has put himself out there in a press conference, so the likelihood that this intention becomes a formal request through all of these channels is high. But, just reminding people, we're not there yet. Nothing is official for the 28th. And, she just reminds us to be advised that until this legislative process is complete, school districts and schools must continue to comply with the masking mandates. So, I thought that I actually had clipped some of the stuff from the Hartford Courant article, but I thought that this was probably more accurate to present to this board. I've also had some consultation with other area superintendents. One of the things I wanted to do, and I will do shortly, is communicate out to the families regarding where we stand in all of this information, because it's a lot to take in. You hear from different news outlets, you hear from different newspapers or social media, obviously contributes their thoughts all over the place. But I want to send something from the Office of the Superintendent. I've had some conversation with Sarah about it being a joint Superintendent Board of Ed kind of letter that goes out, and there's some of those letters are out there in other districts. Although I'm new to the position, I feel I've learned very quickly not to overreact to news that comes out and communicate too quickly, because even some superintendents who put stuff out pretty much right after the governor's announcement or press conference have already changed their tune. And that's the last thing I feel I want to do to our parents, to our kids, or to our teachers, is give out communication and then the next day have to change it. So something will be coming from the Office of the Superintendent. I will consult with Sarah as our board chair on that and get that out to the community shortly. And as things shift and change at the state level, I will do my best to keep everybody updated.
Great, thank you. Questions on that? Go ahead, Nicole.
I just want to make sure that whatever decision you make, Andy, you are going to allow the board to vote or give you their opinions?
Yes, sure. So Sarah alluded to the special meeting that we'll have to get this budget adopted, but we will also have another topic. By that date, we should have more firm guidance and a better idea of timeline for this possible decision. I obviously will make my recommendation to you all, but look forward to a healthy conversation on what's best for our community at this time and what's best for our learners and our staff. Good.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right, moving along to our facilities report. Thank you, Rachel.
And if I could just, just to go back, thank you so much to the board for their thoughts on the budget and the direction. It's very helpful for me to be able to bring you something that is going to be in line with our conversations and might make the process of the adoption a little bit easier, although it's never an easy task.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead, Kevin, sorry about that.
Well, that's all right. I just lost connection. I just got a
Sometimes if you turn off your camera and mute your mic, and then turn your camera back on and unmute your mic, it kind of resets you.
I shut the whole computer down and turn it back on.
Can we turn that
All right, so the facilities update.
I think the problem is that it's also picking
No,
up stuff from
I'm
us,
actually
because the phone keeps
echoing
going at us.
Hold on a minute, Kevin, we're having a hard time hearing you, please.
Let's see. Kevin, say something.
Hello?
Okay, that's way better.
Matt, can you mute us can you stay over there and just mute us, or maybe, remind me.
Jonathan?
Jonathan, could you mute us while Kevin is talking? And then unmute us after?
All right, so I can start with number 1. LOS painting is complete. Number 2, LOS fuel tank has been installed as of January 15th. That's complete as well. We received the bill today. We'll process that and send it to the town. The crack seal is complete in Lyman. We paid that in full, $22,000. The doors and the parts readers, we actually met this week. All the parts are in. We're going to start doing that work on February 16th at the middle school. We're going to actually install a new door. We're going to move on to LES to install that new door frame, the new door, the new hardware, and everything else over the winter break. We'll continue on. I'm meeting with the camera people tomorrow during another meeting we had offline for exterior cameras in the parking lots of the schools. Moving along, Lyman repair for the overhangs going to take place over the winter break as well. I'm going to be meeting with Earthlake and Val on Thursday for the average source reimbursement spreadsheet discussion. We've been getting some sort of bills, and we're sort of confused as to why we're getting billed for the LED project upgrade. So we're going to meet with them on Thursday. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to take them.
Any questions for Kevin?
I have questions.
Hold on, he's got to unmute us, hold on. Thank you, Jonathan. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay, Kevin, what's the latest on the catch basins? Not started yet?
I actually reached out to the spring as well.
So that's starting in the spring, is that what you said?
Back eye.
Starting in the spring?
He's muting us, so I can't hear him. Just leave him unmuted at this point.
Well, then you don't hear and it gets feedback and then you don't hear.
We're getting feedback.
Matt, can you ask him when that project is starting?
When is that project starting?
That's going to be in the spring.
Why is it starting in the spring, Kevin?
I also put that in my capital plan for next year.
My notes say that we were looking at other contractors.
He did contact Backeye, but they are not available to the spring either.
Are we switching to Backeye?
We have not had that discussion.
So we're gonna put that on the agenda.
Call into this meeting.
What about the central office rooftop unit? Was that replaced?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's complete.
Yep. What about is the generator, the fuel tank, was that replaced at LMS?
Complete as of 1:15.
Okay. Also, how about the curbing at LES? Is that also a springtime job?
I'm going to reach out to the town to see if they have the remote permit. To be a shared services.
Okay, so you're reaching out to the town in hopes that they will do the work?
And then we'll remove the curbing and then we'll do the asphalt separately.
Okay. And then, just my last question, maybe this one is for Jock, I don't know if he's here, but the Wi-Fi access points? Nothing? We don't know anything about the Wi-Fi access?
In the Caribbean.
Really?
I want to be there.
End of February, I wrote down. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kevin? All right. Moving along to our finance report, 21-22 budget. There's a seat right there for you.
I was gonna ask Maureen to scoot over.
All right, now we have to talk about this year's budget. We spent a lot of time talking about next year's budget. Which one is it? Is it the zero or?
One.
Okay, I'm good? I'm good? I'm good. I did it. All right, thank you. Briefly going through at a glance, we're still working on fixing some purchase order incorrect allocations in pupil transportation. For some reason right now, the expenses are being overstated, so that's why you see the overage. It's not a true overage, it's money being held up in encumbrances that we have to adjust and get out of there. It's actually pretty technical because we're working with our accounting software because we've taken payments on that PO already. We can't just close it out and end it, so we have to kind of get creative in how we're going to fix that one.
Okay.
And then if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to take them along the way. Otherwise, I'll just go over some big items that I'm looking at. We have to close out other POs in custodial supplies and computer supplies, so 613 and 620. I do believe it's a timing of when this report was pulled for almost the same thing that's happened in transportation, where there's money being held up in encumbrances from POs that were entered in the beginning of the fiscal year that are still kind of looming and haunting us. So, I have some questions for Kevin and for Jock when he gets back, because I think some of those things can be closed and we can clean up these line items. So unfortunately, right now, those are the only ones that I see that are kind of out of whack, quote unquote. But if anybody else has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Go ahead, Andy.
If I could just, Val and I talked about this too, just giving you a little bit of perspective as to this point kind of last year. When you look at the percent remaining here, last year we were at 29%.
Yeah.
And this year we're 36, so don't think it's time to really raise any red flags, but it is a conversation that I've been having with our leadership team about being very thoughtful about our purchases and making sure that they are necessity-based at this point to have us in good position for the end of the year.
Any questions on the 21-22 budget? I do have one question, Val. There was a reimbursement from the bus company.
Yes.
For a small amount, but we were still in process, maybe.
Yeah, we were able to, we had an invoice come in from the bus company, a credit for $3,500. I think it's something that Andy and I will plan to follow up on to discuss more. I'm curious a little bit about how they came up with the calculation.
That's what I was going to ask.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you'll even see it reflected in here, only because in order for us to take that credit, because we've paid transportation in full for the year, we make a big payment in the beginning of the year. In order for us to take that credit, we're going to offset another invoice by it, so that will probably process by the end of February when we have $3,500 worth of invoices. But they had very specific dates, and bus rates that don't necessarily align with our contract, so I have questions about it.
And it's kind of still continuing, and again, we understand, right, it's kind of
It's what's
everywhere.
going
It's
on,
something
yeah.
everybody's
So,
dealing with. But.
We'll continue to have those conversations and hopefully have some clarification as the year wraps up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on the budget? You didn't have your hand up, did you? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Val.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is simply discussion. I put this here because, I added myself, or I asked to be added to the Lyman 100-year celebration. So there is that brochure that was shared with us, and I just wanted you guys to be aware of it, take a look at it. I don't know if anybody was interested in, supporting it in any way that we could. I just wanted you all to be aware of the celebration and the dates and what it would look like, what the vision, I suppose, is. Any question or discussion on this? No?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How do you envision the Board of Ed, do you have any vision for that yet?
No, but any ideas are, we're definitely open to any ideas or thoughts that the board has, just to show support, I suppose.
Just out of curiosity, how long has the Board of Ed been around? Because I'm sure it hasn't been here for 100 years.
I don't know the answer to that.
I was just curious.
So 2017, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Go ahead, Danelle.
I'd just like to thank Jay for his work on this and the representation of the school here, and I kind of think you need another male in the committee with you. It's you and all females. So if there's any interested male that wants to help, maybe get in touch with you.
And let us know, if there's anything that we can...
No, that's much appreciated.
We can do, yeah, great. All right. Moving right along to new business. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 first readings. Maureen, do you want to speak to any of these?
Well, we have really 3 first readings. If you look at number 3, the communication is a compilation of number 4 and number 5. So we would necessarily have to delete 4 and 5 because we rolled them into 3. Okay? And so we got some redlined documents from Shipman and Goodwin and for the first 2, and so we updated those, or we made the suggestions of update those, and then we revamped the communication one, and the graduation exercises, I forget, why did you say we want to put it down?
Because there's law.
That's right. Mandate that. So we don't need a policy if there's a law already. So this is an opportunity for the first reading.
Any questions on those? We don't need to take any action, just wanted to put them out there. Okay. All right, moving right along to our action items. Action item number 1 is to act on the 2022-23 general education tuition rate for contractual sending towns. We should take these individually. So could we talk about the general ed tuition?
Sure, so we were recommending just a 2% increase year over year for the contractual sending towns, and what goes along with that is the percentage contribution towards the tuition for staff that have children that they might want to bring to our Lebanon schools. Interestingly, we have a policy, Maureen, that might need to be revisited if the board so chooses, because currently the tuition for children of certified staff is how the policy is written. I was not a part of the conversation when this was formally approved in 2003. I don't know if we want to consider affording this opportunity to all staff if they wanted to bring their child to the Lebanon Public Schools. So I guess it's two separate things here. There is the increase for the contractual tuition, and then there is the conversation about possibly revisiting that policy.
Go ahead, Maureen.
I recommend we send it to the policy committee for them to review and bring back to the next meeting.
So that's item number 2. So,
You would like me to propose the increase of the 2% for the sending town?
yes.
I'll second.
Okay, Maureen moves to accept the 2% general education tuition rate increase for contractual sending towns, and John seconds. Any discussion? Matt?
So how do you arrive at 2%? How is that arrived at? How do you come up with 2%? Like 2.5 or 1.9? I'm just curious if I did too.
So do you want me to answer? Do you want me to?
Go ahead. We did it 4 years ago.
We have, since 2021, we had a 0. We were asked specifically by a sending town to keep the tuition flat for that 1 year. Every other year, it has been a 2% increase. However, we're not allowed to increase it more than 2.5%. So we can't increase it any more than 2.5, correct?
And I think just something to take into consideration as you're considering raising rates. A focus of ours has been enrollment, specifically of late. And if we're going to be increasing rates, then that could make other districts more attractive. So.
Go ahead, Matt.
That's why I was asking about, I'm not saying we shouldn't raise 2%, but again, remember I mentioned about the ledger thing. How do we compare? So maybe if we really want to get people in, is it possible that maybe 2% is the wrong number? I'm just curious. That's why I'm asking that question.
That's a good question. Dawn?
We've seen those numbers before. And I mean, it's been a little while, so I can't recall exactly, but I know that we were neither well above or well below. Like, I remember us being, you know.
And it is an interesting place to be because you could say you want to do a 0.5% increase and see no additional students. And then you take a slight hit there.
Yeah.
You could bump it up a little bit and then see more kids, ironically. So it's really tough to tell.
It's just a topic of discussion.
John?
The other issue is that salaries are increasing for us, so, I mean, I don't have any objection to the 2%.
Any other thoughts? Nicole?
We have not, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2 years that we have not increased this? Has it been 2?
We did last year, but we didn't the year before.
Did we increase last year by 2%?
We did.
We did, okay.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I believe we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the proposed increase of 2% for our contractual sending towns, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, action item number 2. Now, I believe that Maureen has asked to move this to the policy committee.
Well, no, we want, maybe because this is the tuition of staff members, so we would have to deal with that first. And then the policy that allows non-certified.
Okay.
I would further recommend that go to policy and come back again.
Agreed.
So I would make the motion that we, that the general education tuition rate for children of staff members be 25% of the general, as noted in our report.
25% of the contractual sending town tuition. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Maureen, seconded by John. Discussion. Nicole?
So is the question, are we allowing this? That's not even a question, right?
That's not a question.
So we're definitely allowing it.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay,
It's a
no,
policy.
no further
For
comment.
certified staff.
For certified, right, and the idea to send it to policy would be to open that to other...
Non-certified.
Yes. Matt?
Now, please, if you can remember for me, if someone can remember for me. We at one point dropped this down. Was that dropped down to 25%? Wasn't it higher, or was it dropped to less than 25%?
Lower.
It was zero.
Zero. During
Okay,
COVID.
thank you, that's what I was trying to remember, thank you.
It's on the last page of our board packet with historical information.
Any further discussion?
Just like Matt's question, where do we get the 25% from?
Go ahead.
So based on conversation I've had in central office, at one point it was 50%. We don't have that listed here in the chart, but I could go look to try to get that, and then it went to nothing, no increase, and then down to 25. If the board would like me to do, I can try to track down that historical information.
I believe that when we voted on this to make it 0% for the year of COVID, Mr. Angeli brought to us other towns' comparable percentages for tuition rates for staff members' children, and we did do that analysis then. I'm sure we could go back to the board packets and find that, but I don't know if anybody else has that same recollection. Yes? Nicole, do you remember that? Maureen?
No.
I remember discussing, but I,
That's why I was thinking,
Yeah.
see, in my mind, I think I remember it being 50% at one point. That's what I was thinking it was more than 25.
or maybe we discussed 50% and then decided not to. So.
Just stick with 25.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's like a win-win situation when you have staff members' kids here, because number one, your enrollment goes up, number two, you're getting income, and number three, staff's peace of mind, their children are with them. So it's just a win-win for everybody.
And it's a handful, well, retention, yeah. It's also a handful of students. It's not a lot of students we're talking about. And, right, like retaining staff members, if we are willing to work with them, they will.
And if you read the policy has, if there's space, et cetera, so that's it's really delimited.
Any further discussion? Okay, there was a motion on the floor to approve the 25% general education tuition rate for children of staff members. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, item number 3, act on the 22-23 special services rates. And Andy, would you give us a little bit of background on this?
So really the biggest change here, the biggest change here is that from 21-22, they had moved to doing per day per class rather than per hour in terms of the first couple of bullets there, but then the evaluation costs really have not changed.
Okay. Again, a lot of this on this page, 66 of your board packet, is in the details and very specific and not a lot of things that we have control over.
Motion to approve the 22-23 special services rates.
Second.
Motion by Nicole, seconded by John. Any discussion? Discussion? No? All those in favor of approving the 22-23 special services rates, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. All right.
And policy chair will take this to our next meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Policy Chair. Alexis?
Motion to move to executive session to discuss personnel, unaffiliated salaries, evaluations, and job descriptions, inviting Superintendent Gonzalez.
Second.
Motion by Alexis, seconded by Nicole. Any discussion?
Yeah, before we move to executive session, do we have to vote on the resignations?
No, those did not come in through communication on our agenda, so we're going to have to push them to next month. Okay. Thank you for that.
They'll be gone.
Oh, well.
No, just.
Yep, we'll approve them.
We can do it at a special meeting.
Right. There's a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor of moving into executive session, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. We'll move it to an executive session at 9:24. Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.